Hey folks, and welcome to They Might Be Racing. We are continuing on our theme for October, which is brakes, by replacing the front pads in a 2002 Ford F-150. This is a four-wheel drive with a Triton 5.4 liter engine. The brakes on this, once we got it up off the ground, because this particular truck has a lift kit on it, and really big tires. Once we get it off the ground, this is really straightforward. So basically, it's your standard caliper configuration, rotor, caliper, lines coming off of it. The caliper is held in place with two bolts, one at the top, one at the bottom. Now the brake system in this truck has fairly good pressure on it, so we went ahead and raised the hood and just undid the brake master cylinder, just a hair's breadth to be able to relieve pressure. So this upper bolt and the lower bolt on the caliper here are 13mm bolts. Basically, once you bust them loose, they should thread easily. Of course, this one is going to make me a liar and not do so. Once you've got the second bolt out, we use a bucket here to support brake calipers. The reason why we do that is rather than tying them up, you can still get them adequately supported, but if you need to do anything with them while they're in there, you're not farting around with a caliper dangling in space. So you just basically lift it out, rotate it towards the interior of the truck, and set it on the bucket. This frame is what holds your brake pads in place, so you simply slide it forward and lift it out, and the wear channel on that is pretty low. And you slide to the back and lift it out, and the wear channel on that is pretty low. Now, we already checked the rotors. They're in pretty good shape. If you need to remove and replace your rotors, this assembly here is bolted to the back of the wheel with a pair of 18mm bolts. And if you're looking at it from this side, they're blatantly obvious that the first one's right there. You simply undo those, lift this away, the rotor comes off, slap your new rotor in place, bolt that back down, and you're back to where we're at. So the next thing we got to do is put the new brake shoes in place. Now, brake pads in place. So here you've got your front brake pads. Oops, grease on the side of that one. Not good. You'll notice one of them has a squeaker on it. That little metal dongly bit there goes on the outside. So the first thing you do is flip them over, take a little bit of the brake grease, and apply it to the back of the pad. Never the front where it touches the rotor, but the back. So once you've got that squeezed on there, just kind of spread it around a little bit. It'll eventually work its way out across the whole thing thanks to heat and friction. Once you're done there, the next thing you need to do is you need to fit the new spring clips, provided they are supplied. So, like, this kit actually comes with 3 spring clips, 2 for on here, 1 for the caliper. We'll cover that one in a moment. These guys, there's one down here, and there's one up top here. Now, if you bought a less expensive brake kit and it didn't come with them, don't worry, you can reuse the existing ones. If you don't have these on your car for whatever reason, you need to get them. That's what holds everything in place. So, the new ones, just pay attention to how you took the old ones off. The new ones just push right into place. These little spring clips are designed to grab on there, as well as provide pressure to hold the pad in place. That just slides right on there. Set the back pad in first. This tends to be the harder one to fit, so I prefer to set it first. I've got it slid into place. Take the front side one, got to fit it behind the bar, and get it pressed into place. There we got them nice and tight and set in where they need to be. Now the next thing we need to do is take care of the caliper. So when you remove the caliper, the piston is out and it needs to be recompressed. So what you do is you take one of your old pads, and you set it in against the pistons, and then you take your large C-clamp, and funniest thing, I was at Harbor Freight today, and believe it or not, they actually sell a specialty clamp just for doing this. I thought that was pretty funny. It was also pretty flimsy looking, so I'm willing to bet that it would last for, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 uses, and then you go back to using the C-clamp. At any rate, because of the design of this caliper, it's a dual piston, and you cannot evenly span both of the pistons at the same time. So what I like to do is get it on one piston, tighten it up a little bit, flip up to the other piston, tighten it up, and then, you know, make sure they're both down equally. And the reason why you can't get on them both is if you're actually looking at the caliper, it's this solid piece of metal that's part of the caliper's housing. It just simply gets in the way of putting something down the middle. And the funny sploing you just heard was actually the spring clip for the caliper popping off, so it's not a big deal. I generally leave the old one there while I'm doing this because it helps hold the pad in the proper position. One more pass on the upper cylinder, the upper piston. As always, when you're dealing with your calipers, you're going to be very careful of the rubber seals around the pistons. You're going to be very careful of your brake lines. In fact, it looks like my brakes must have been pretty full because I can see that my master cylinder has overflowed. So we're going to have to clean all that up before it eats the paint. Alright, so here we've got it all compressed. You want to check your connections in the back, check the lines, make sure everything's okay. This is the old spring clip. Take the new spring clip. There are 2 slots that it fits into on the back of the caliper. Just spring it into place. And then from there, take your caliper and slide it over the pads. Now, there are 2 rubberized bits on the back here where the bolts go. You just need to make sure to get it appropriately over those when you're fitting it. Something doesn't sound quite right here, other than my knee. Alright, so then take your bolts, which hopefully not misplaced, and thread the top one first. Once you've got that successfully threaded, man, I was only joking about actually using bolts. Go ahead and thread the bottom one. At the end, it's a 13mm wrench, which I've also misplaced. Seem to be batting 1,000 here. Seriously, what did I do with it? In the box? Oh, there it is. So at this point, basically all you have to do is tighten these 2 13mm bolts back up, and they will pull the whole assembly into place. You'll need to tighten the master cylinder cover. And in my particular case, it looks like I'm going to clean up a little bit of brake fluid. But other than that, you're basically done. Again, if you had to replace the rotor, there was that additional step in the middle, but it only takes a minute or 2. But that's basically all you have to do to change the front pads and possibly the front rotors on a Ford 2002 Ford F-150. One of the important things to note is once you get back in the car, you want to make sure to give the brakes a few pumps, make sure that you've got full pressure before you take off, because you need to get the pistons pushed back into the correct alignment. Otherwise you'll be driving down the street and you won't stop. The other thing is we did all of the jacking for this vehicle ahead of time. So we loosened the lug nuts on both sides, put the car up on our jack, slid jack stands underneath it to support it safely, then finished removing the lug nuts, remove the wheels, and that's where we started. So from here, we simply have to put the wheels back on, tighten up the lugs, get it back up off the jack stands, put it down, and we should be good to go. So until next time.